Welcome to Fun with Finance. I'm Bill Shore, your host, and this is session 2. Remember, our goals are good money habits, money management, the financial markets, and investing, all with an ultimate goal of financial independence. Thank you for coming back and rejoining the conversation. Today, we're going to be talking about our homework assignment. And that has to do with being frugal. And that's one of our good money habits that we're going to be spending time talking about today. So, what does frugal mean? Well, last time we said some people may say it means being cheap, but really what it means is living below your means. And when you live below your means, you have the money to save 20%. And that's one of the key principles that we're going to continue to emphasize, saving 20%, which allows you to have the resources to begin investing in the market. And ultimately, that's what we want to do. Now, today I want to take a little more time talking about living below your means. What does that mean? What does that mean exactly? Well, essentially it means that money coming in is greater than money going out. And this sign is something that you'll probably see again. It means greater than. And those of you that are taking algebra or other mathematics have probably seen this before. And of course the reverse means less than. So if we go this way, it means less than. Okay, so the idea is money coming in is greater than money going out. The way to do that, and there's going to be some controversy, I imagine, in a couple of these suggestions. First of all, know your income. We're going to talk about that today. Secondly, spend less with a budget. Actually, when you have a budget, then you can spend to the budget, and you'll be at appropriate levels of spending. Third, to increase your income. That's one way to change the dynamics here, to increase more money going in case there's more money going out. The notion of limiting credit cards. And I know that's going to be a third rail issue for some, but we're going to talk about that. The notion of limiting credit cards. Fifth, don't keep up with the Smiths. I would say don't keep up with the Jones, but we won't go there. And the notion is that social indifference, one of our principles we mentioned before, is something that's important to us. We don't care about keeping up with trends. And lastly, an emergency fund, an important component part of your financial plan. So if we follow all of these rules, we will be able to live below our means. And that will allow us to save 20%, which means we can then invest in the market. I want to talk a little bit about principle number 4, again, living below your means. And in the book, he talks about living smartly. Well, what does that mean? Well, one thing means really understanding what your income is. Now, income is equal to dollars coming in. So if you work 10 hours a week at $15 an hour, theoretically, you have $150. But of course, in fact, you don't. That's not what your paycheck reads. Your paycheck reads less. Net income, which is closer to the reality, okay, is equal to income minus deductions. So let's say, for example, your $150 is reduced by $25 due to taxes or Social Security that your employer takes out. And let's say, for example, you work in a restaurant and there's a $5 deduction for your uniform cleaning fee. So your net income, what you really have to spend, is $120. So therefore, it's important that we understand that that's really the net income that we have. Now, another term, disposable income is what you have left after your budget. And we've talked about a budget a number of times, and we're going to spend a whole session talking about a budget. But the notion is the budget is so important because it allows you to have a plan. The budget is a plan for spending. It estimates your income, and it provides you with a plan for spending. Now, one of the important things about having a budget is that it allows you to engage in learning. Because as you draft your budget, put your budget together, and then you compare that with your actual, you will see that it doesn't always marry up. And from that, you can learn. Well, I should have budgeted more for grocery spending or for spending on bus rides or whatever it is. And then you can adjust your budget to reflect reality. So the notion of a budget is it's a plan, but it's also a flexible plan in that you can learn from it, make your adjustments, and then become very accurate in your estimated spending and allow you to really understand how close you can come to spending within your budget. So understanding our income is an important part of being able to live below your means. I want to go back to the sheet that I shared with you a moment ago, which fell off my easel, and talk for just a second. So we've talked about knowing your income. We're going to talk about budget separately in another session. Increasing your income. How do you increase your income? Well, right now, you can increase your income by, if you don't have a job, you can get a job. Perhaps you have an allowance. There may be a way you can increase the amount of that allowance by offering to do more things around the house. There's other ways that you can increase your income. If you have one job, you may take another job, or you may, again, look to see what you can do for a neighbor or a friend that may mow their lawn or shovel their sidewalk, for example. So increasing your income is one way to, again, balance out the money in versus the money out. I want to talk just for a minute about credit cards, and we're not going to spend too much time on those today, but keep in mind that credit cards are different than debit cards. Okay, we have credit cards and debit cards. What's the difference? When you go on vacation and you rent a car, you pay some money for the rental of the car. When you use a credit card, you are paying to rent money. So I want you to think about a credit card as renting money. Now you're paying to rent that money, but if you actually have the money, you don't have to pay to rent it. And a debit card is essentially the money that you have. So there's a huge difference, because a debit card does not allow you to spend money you don't have, whereas a credit card does. And a credit card allows you to violate your budget, because you don't see that bill until a month later, and all of a sudden, wow, where was that spending in my budget? So we're going to talk more about credit cards, but I want you to be very sensitive to the notion of having a credit card. It is a very dangerous device that can lead you to break your budget. And a debit card is different. A debit card allows you to only spend what you have, and that's a huge difference. So try not to have a credit card. If you do, and here's a rule that I try to follow, I only have one credit card and one debit card, and that's all you should need. Credit cards can be very dangerous because they allow you to overspend, and that's one of the things that is not a good money habit. So we're going to encourage you not to have a credit card. Don't keep up with the Smiths, because trends aren't important in the bigger scheme of saving your money and being able to invest in the market. So don't worry about keeping up with the Smiths, but do anticipate establishing an emergency fund, and that should be part of your budget. So we'll talk about that more next time when we get into budgets. Okay, I want to spend a little bit, you remember our assignment was Principles 4 and 5. We've spent a good amount of time talking about Principle 4. I want to spend just a minute talking about Principle 5. Principle 5 is take care of your stuff. Now this seems pretty intuitive, and yet people don't always do that. Why do we want to take care of your stuff? We take care of our stuff because it lasts longer, works better, costs less, retains its value, so if you ever go to sell it, you'll get more for it. All of these things are true, and we know all of these things are true, and yet we don't always allocate as much time or money towards maintenance and taking care of our things that we should. And of course that means, dry cleaning bills, laundering properly, providing maintenance on your machinery, such as your bicycle or your car. All of these things will help you have your devices and your equipment last longer, which means you have to replace them less often. And in fact, you're saving that money that you can then invest in the market. The other thing is, and somebody's going to remind me of the fact that I didn't spell self-esteem properly. Taking care of your stuff allows you to take pride in your things and allows you to take pride in yourself, to know that you're taking care of things. And your employer, when they see you taking care of your things, you'll take care of their things, and they will appreciate that. The last thought for today is that not only should you take care of your stuff because of all these things, but you want to take care of you for the same reason. You will last longer, you'll work better, you will have less maintenance costs in the form of health care, you'll retain value and enjoy life more. So take care of yourself. Our assignment for next time, principles number 8 and number 9 in your book. We'll talk about those. We'll also talk about budget. What are your questions? What are your suggestions? Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of Fun with Finance.